She was 8 months pregnant with twins when her husband packed one suitcase and walked out. Not after an argument, not after a warning, not after weeks of explaining what was happening inside him. He just stood by the bedroom door with one hand on the handle of a black suitcase and said, "I cannot do this anymore." Sarah looked down at her belly. 2 babies were moving inside her, 2 little lives she had already named in her heart. And the man who had promised to protect them was standing in the doorway like he was leaving a hotel room. She thought he was angry. She thought maybe he needed air. She thought maybe he would drive around the block, cool down, and come back. So she did not scream. She did not throw anything. She did not chase him down the stairs. She just whispered, "Nathan, please, I am 8 months pregnant." He did not look at her belly. He looked at the floor, and then he said the sentence that stayed in her mind for years. "You will be okay. You always are." Then he walked out. The door closed softly. That was the part that hurt the most. It did not slam. It did not shake the walls. It closed quietly, like nothing important had just broken. Sarah stood in the middle of the bedroom wearing one of his old sweatshirts because none of her clothes fit anymore. Her feet were swollen. Her back ached. The nursery was only half finished. There were 2 tiny cribs against the wall. One still had a box of screws sitting inside it. There were baby blankets folded on a chair. A hospital bag was open on the floor, half packed. And there she was, 8 months pregnant with twins, suddenly wondering how someone could leave 3 people at once. She reached for her phone. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped it. She called him. It rang once, then nothing. She called again, straight to voicemail. She texted him, "Please come back." No response. She waited 5 minutes, then 10, then 30. And when she tried to call again, the call did not go through. Her stomach dropped. She opened the message thread. The picture beside his name was gone. The messages stopped delivering. And that was when she realized it. He had blocked her. Her husband had left her 8 months pregnant with twins. Then he blocked her. Sarah sat down slowly on the edge of the bed because her legs felt weak. One baby kicked hard on the left side of her belly. The other moved gently on the right. She put both hands over them and started crying. Not loud at first, just small, broken breaths. Then the kind of crying that makes your whole body shake. She cried because she was scared. She cried because she was tired. She cried because the baby shower thank you cards were still sitting on the dresser and everyone had written things like, "You two are going to be amazing parents." She cried because his toothbrush was still by the sink. His shoes were still near the door. His coffee mug was still in the dishwasher. But he was gone. And she had no idea how to become a mother and survive heartbreak at the same time. That night, Sarah did not sleep. She sat on the nursery floor with her back against the wall. 2 cribs in front of her, a pile of tiny diapers beside her, a Bible on the rug near her knee. She had not opened that Bible in weeks, not because she did not believe, but because she had been exhausted. Pregnancy had made everything feel heavy. Marriage had become tense. Bills had been piling up. Nathan had grown quieter, and Sarah had kept telling herself, "He's just stressed. He's just scared. He will be okay when the babies come." But now she understood something painful. Sometimes the person you keep making excuses for has already decided to leave. She picked up the Bible. Her tears fell onto the cover. For a long time, she did not know what to pray. She did not have strong words. She did not have church words. She did not have a perfect prayer. All she had was fear. So she placed both hands on her belly, bowed her head, and whispered, "God, I cannot carry them without you." That was it. One sentence. No music, no miracle sound, no angel appearing in the room. Just one abandoned woman on the nursery floor, asking God to help her carry what her husband had walked away from. And somehow, in the silence after that prayer, Sarah felt something she had not felt all night. Not happiness, not confidence, not answers, just enough peace to breathe again. She cried until her body was empty. Then she leaned her head against the wall and whispered again, "God, I cannot carry them without you." The next morning, the sunlight came through the blinds like nothing had happened. That felt unfair to Sarah. The world kept moving. Cars drove past the apartment. Someone walked a dog outside. A neighbor laughed on the phone. The coffee maker on the counter blinked like it was still waiting for a normal morning. But Sarah's life did not feel normal anymore. She tried calling Nathan again. Still blocked. She sent an email. No answer. She checked the bank account. Her heart dropped. He had taken most of the money from their joint checking account. Not all of it, just enough to let her know he had planned this. Sarah stared at the numbers until they blurred. Rent was due in 8 days. The electric bill was sitting on the kitchen counter. The car needed gas. The babies needed diapers, wipes, bottles, formula just in case, and things she had not even thought about yet. She opened the fridge. Milk. Eggs. Half a bag of spinach. A jar of pickles she had been eating at midnight for the past month. She closed the fridge and leaned her forehead against the door. Then she whispered, "Lord, what am I supposed to do?" Her phone buzzed. For 1 second, she thought it was Nathan. It was not. It was an appointment reminder from her doctor. Prenatal checkup at 2:30. Sarah almost laughed because the message said, "Please bring your support person." Support person. She stared at those words. Then she put the phone face down on the counter. At 2:30, Sarah walked into the doctor's office alone. Every step felt heavy. In the waiting room, there were couples everywhere. A husband rubbing his wife's back. A man holding a pink diaper bag. A couple laughing over ultrasound pictures. Sarah looked down at her hands and twisted her wedding ring. The nurse called her name. "Sarah Miller?" Sarah stood up. The nurse smiled and said, "Just you today." Sarah tried to smile back, but her face broke before she could stop it. And she said, "I think it is just me now." The nurse's expression changed, not with pity, with tenderness. She placed a gentle hand on Sarah's arm and said, "Come on, honey, let's take care of you and those babies." Those words almost made Sarah cry again, because for the first time since Nathan left, someone said we. Not you. We. Let's take care of you. The doctor checked the babies. 2 heartbeats filled the room. Fast, strong, alive. Sarah closed her eyes. For a few seconds, she forgot the blocked number. She forgot the empty bank account. She forgot the suitcase. All she could hear were the heartbeats. One baby, then the other. The doctor smiled and said, "They are doing well." Sarah put her hands over her face and cried. The doctor handed her tissues and waited quietly. Then Sarah whispered, "I do not know how to do this alone." The doctor looked at her and said, "You may feel alone right now, but we are going to make sure you have support." That word again. Support. Sarah nodded, but inside she still felt terrified. Because support from a doctor was kind. Support from a nurse was kind. But at 3 a.m, when fear crawled into bed beside her, who would be there then? That night, Sarah sat at the kitchen table with a notebook. At the top of the page she wrote, "Things I need." Then she started listing. Rent, groceries, gas, hospital bag, car seat number 1, car seat number 2, help after birth, a ride to the hospital, someone to call if something goes wrong. She stopped writing. The list was too much. She pushed the notebook away and covered her face. That was when her phone rang. Her best friend, Emily. Sarah almost did not answer, because sometimes when your life is falling apart, even kindness feels exhausting. But she picked up. Emily said, "Hey, I have had this weird feeling all day that I needed to call you. Are you okay?" Sarah tried to say yes. She really did, but only a sob came out. Emily's voice changed immediately. "Sarah, what happened?" Sarah told her everything. The suitcase, the blocked number, the bank account, the doctor appointment, the babies, the fear. For a few seconds, Emily did not speak. Then Sarah heard her keys in the background. Emily said, "I am coming over." Sarah said, "You do not have to." Emily said, "I know I do not have to. I am coming anyway." 40 minutes later, Emily was standing at the door with grocery bags in both hands. She hugged Sarah carefully because of the belly. Then she pulled back, looked her in the eyes, and said, "He left. But you are not alone." Sarah cried again. Not because anything was fixed, but because somebody showed up. Sometimes God does not answer your prayer by changing the whole situation in one moment. Sometimes he answers by sending one person to knock on the door with groceries. That night, Emily sat on the nursery floor and helped Sarah finish one of the cribs. They did not talk much at first. The sound of the little screwdriver turning was the only thing in the room. Then Emily looked at Sarah and said, "Have you told anyone at church?" Sarah shook her head. "No, I am embarrassed." Emily frowned. "Embarrassed? Sarah, you did not abandon your family. You are the one still here." Those words landed deep. You are the one still here. Sarah had been carrying shame that did not belong to her. She felt ashamed that her marriage had fallen apart. Ashamed that she was pregnant and alone. ashamed that people might whisper, ashamed that her babies would be born into a story she never wanted for them. But Emily was right. Sarah was still there, still carrying them, still praying, still trying, still choosing to live through the worst night of her life. The next Sunday, Sarah walked into church. She almost turned around in the parking lot. Her dress barely fit. Her eyes were swollen. She had taken off her wedding ring that morning and put it in a drawer. Not because she was over it, because seeing it on her hand felt like touching a bruise. She sat in the back row. She hoped no one would notice her. But Miss Evelyn noticed. Miss Evelyn was one of those older women in church who always knew when someone was hurting. She had silver hair, soft hands, and the kind of eyes that made people tell the truth. After service, she sat down beside Sarah and said, "Baby, you look like you have been carrying the whole world." Sarah tried to smile. Miss Evelyn took her hand and said, "You do not have to explain here. Just let me pray." Sarah nodded. Miss Evelyn placed one hand over Sarah's hands and one hand gently near her belly, and she prayed, "Lord, cover this mother, cover these babies, cover this home, and remind your daughter that abandonment does not cancel your promise. Abandonment does not cancel your promise." Sarah held on to that sentence all week. When she woke up scared, she whispered it. When she looked at the empty side of the bed, she whispered it. When she checked her phone and saw no messages from Nathan, she whispered it. Abandonment does not cancel your promise. Soon, help started arriving in small ways. A woman from church brought frozen meals. Another brought diapers. Someone else dropped off 2 car seats. Emily started coming over twice a week. Miss Evelyn called every night at 8 just to pray for 5 minutes. The church secretary connected Sarah with a local support program for new mothers. None of it made the pain disappear. Sarah still cried. She still felt rejected. She still wondered how Nathan could block her while she was carrying his children. She still woke up sometimes and reached for him before remembering he was gone. But slowly, something inside her changed. She stopped saying, "I am completely alone." And she started saying, "God is sending help." One night, about 3 weeks after Nathan left, Sarah woke up at 2:14 in the morning. A sharp pain moved through her back. Then another. She sat up. Her heart started pounding. No, she whispered. "Not tonight," she called Emily. No answer. She called Miss Evelyn. Miss Evelyn answered on the second ring like she had been waiting by the phone. "Sarah?" Sarah tried to speak calmly. "I think something is happening," Miss Evelyn said. "I am on my way. Call the hospital now." Everything after that moved fast. The hospital bag, the elevator, the cold air outside. Miss Evelyn pulling up in her old blue car wearing a coat over her nightgown. The drive to the hospital. Sarah breathing through pain in the passenger seat. Miss Evelyn praying out loud the whole way. "Jesus, be near. Jesus, protect them. Jesus, guide the doctors. Jesus, cover this mother." Sarah kept trying to call Nathan. Even in pain, she tried. Blocked. At the hospital, the nurse asked, "Is the father coming?" Sarah turned her face away. Miss Evelyn answered gently, "No, but she is not alone." The labour was long, harder than Sarah expected. There were moments when fear almost swallowed her. Moments when the room felt too bright. Moments when machines beeped and people moved quickly. Moments when Sarah thought, "I cannot do this." Then Miss Evelyn leaned close and whispered, "Yes, you can. God is carrying you." Emily arrived a few hours later, crying and out of breath. She grabbed Sarah's hand. "I am here. I am here." Sarah squeezed her hand and whispered, "He blocked me." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I know, but heaven did not." That sentence broke Sarah open. He blocked me, but heaven did not. Her husband could block her number, but he could not block her prayers. He could walk out of a room, but he could not walk God out of her life. He could leave her name unanswered on his phone, but God still answered when she cried. Hours later, the first baby came, a tiny girl, Lily Grace. Sarah heard the cry and started sobbing. Not soft tears, deep, shaking, holy tears. Then came the second baby, a little boy, Noah James, smaller than his sister, but breathing, alive. Here, Sarah held them both against her chest, one wrapped in a pink blanket, one wrapped in blue. Their little faces were red and wrinkled. Their hands were impossibly small, And Sarah whispered, "We made it." Then she corrected herself. "No, God carried us." Miss Evelyn stood beside the bed, crying quietly. Emily had one hand over her mouth. The nurse smiled and said, "They are beautiful." Sarah looked down at her twins. For the first time in weeks, the pain of being left did not fill the whole room. There was still grief. There was still unanswered hurt. There was still a man who should have been there and was not. But there was also life. 2 little lives breathing against her chest. And for the first time, Sarah understood something. Her story had not ended when Nathan walked out. It had not ended when he blocked her. It had not ended on the nursery floor. It had not ended in the doctor's office. God was still writing. In the weeks after the twins came home, life was not easy. Sarah was tired in a way she did not know a person could be tired. There were bottles everywhere, laundry piled up. One baby would cry as soon as the other fell asleep. Bills still came. Nathan still did not call. Some nights Sarah sat in the rocking chair with one baby in each arm and cried because she had not showered, had not slept, and had not eaten anything except toast. She loved her babies, but she was exhausted. And sometimes love does not remove exhaustion. Sometimes love is the reason you keep going while exhausted. One night, both babies were crying. Sarah had tried feeding them, changing them, rocking them, singing to them. Nothing worked. She was so tired she started crying with them. She looked up at the ceiling and said, "God, I cannot do this." Then she stopped, because she remembered the prayer from the nursery floor. "God, I cannot carry them without you." She whispered it again. "God, I cannot carry them without you." Then the doorbell rang. Sarah froze. It was almost 10 at night. She carefully carried both babies to the door and looked through the peephole. It was Emily, holding a bag of groceries and 2 coffees. Sarah opened the door and cried before Emily even stepped inside. Emily took one look at her and said, "Give me one baby." Sarah handed her Noah. Emily bounced him gently and said, "I was driving home and felt like I should stop here." I almost talked myself out of it. Sarah looked at her with tears in her eyes. Do not ever talk yourself out of it. That night, Emily stayed for 3 hours. She washed bottles, folded laundry, held Lily while Sarah took a shower. Then she sat on the couch and prayed quietly while Sarah slept for 45 minutes. It was not a big miracle, but sometimes when you are a mother alone with newborn twins, 45 minutes of sleep feels like God parting the sea. Months passed. Slowly, Sarah built a new rhythm. Not the life she planned, not the family picture she had imagined, but a life held together by grace. Miss Evelyn came every Tuesday. Emily came every Friday. A woman from church helped Sarah find remote work she could do during nap times. The landlord gave her extra time 1 month. A neighbor started leaving diapers at her door. Someone anonymously paid her electric bill. And every time help came, Sarah cried. Not because she was weak, because she recognized the hand of God in ordinary people. Nathan never explained, not then, not in a way that made it better. He sent one email months later, short, cold, full of excuses. Sarah read it once. Then she closed the laptop and looked at her sleeping twins. For a moment, anger rose in her, then grief, then something else, freedom. Not full freedom, not instant forgiveness, but the beginning of it. She realized she could spend the rest of her life begging for an apology from someone who had abandoned her, or she could let God heal the places that apology might never touch. That night, she opened her Bible and read, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted." She whispered, "You were close." She thought about the nursery floor, the blocked calls, the hospital room, Miss Evelyn's old blue car, Emily at the door, the 2 heartbeats, the 2 cries, the 2 babies sleeping now in the next room. And she whispered, "You never left." That was the truth that changed Sarah. Not that life became easy. Not that every wound disappeared. Not that Nathan came back with flowers and everything was repaired. No, the truth was deeper than that. People can leave. God can still stay. People can block you. God can still hear you. People can decide you are too much. God can still call you beloved. People can walk away from responsibility. God can still provide help. People can abandon the story. God can still redeem it. And if you are listening to this right now, maybe you know what Sarah felt. Maybe someone left you when you needed them most. Maybe you are raising children alone. Maybe you are pregnant and afraid. Maybe you are carrying a family, a job, a bill, a diagnosis, or a heartbreak that no one else fully understands. Maybe you keep checking your phone, hoping someone will finally care enough to call. Maybe you feel blocked, forgotten, rejected, or abandoned. Please hear this. Their absence is painful, but it is not proof that God has left you. Their silence is painful, but it is not louder than God's promise. Their rejection is painful, but it is not stronger than God's love. You may be tired. You may be scared. You may not know how tomorrow is going to work, but God can carry what people walked away from. God can send help. God can give strength for the next hour. God can put the right people at the right door at the right time. God can protect your children. God can restore your heart. God can make a way in a season that looks impossible. Sarah did not become strong because she stopped crying. She became strong because she learned how to cry and pray at the same time. She learned that faith is not pretending you are okay. Faith is whispering, God, carry me, when you know you cannot carry yourself. So if you are in a season like that, I want to pray for you. Heavenly Father, I pray for the person listening right now who feels abandoned. I pray for the woman who was left when she needed love the most. I pray for the mother carrying children, bills, fear, exhaustion, and heartbreak. I pray for the single mother who feels like no one sees how hard she is trying. I pray for the pregnant woman who is scared of doing this alone. I pray for the person whose calls were ignored, whose messages were blocked, and whose heart was broken by someone they trusted. Lord, come close. Wrap them in your presence. Remind them that they are not forgotten. Remind them that their future is not abandoned. Remind them that their future is not abandoned. Father, give them strength for today. Not just strength for the whole year. Not just strength for the whole journey, but strength for the next breath, the next step, the next decision, the next night. Send help. Send the right people. Send provision. Send peace. Send wisdom. Send rest. Open doors they cannot open on their own. Protect their children. Cover their home. Heal their heart. And when they feel like they cannot carry what life has placed in their arms, remind them that you are carrying them. Lord, let them know that being left does not mean being unloved. Being blocked does not mean being unheard. Being alone in a room does not mean being alone in life. You are with them. You are near to the brokenhearted. You are a father to the fatherless. You are a defender of the vulnerable. You are strength for the weary. You are hope for the abandoned. You are peace in the night, and you are still writing their story. In Jesus' name, amen. Sarah still had hard days, but every time she looked at Lily and Noah, she remembered the night she thought she would not survive. She remembered the suitcase, the blocked calls, the nursery floor, the prayer. God, I cannot carry them without you. And now, when people asked her how she made it through, she did not say, I was strong. She said, God carried me, because that was the truth. Her husband left her 8 months pregnant with twins. Then he blocked her. But God never blocked her prayers. God never left the room. God never abandoned the babies. God never stopped making a way. And if he carried Sarah through the night she thought would break her, he can carry you too. If this story touched your heart, type, God, carry me. And if you know someone who feels abandoned, afraid, pregnant, alone, or overwhelmed, send this story to them. They need to know this. People may leave, but God still stays. And your story is not over.